Hi and welcome back to this week's episode of The Real Country File. Coming up this week we've got some cows. We've got some cows up in Scotland, some cows up in Yorkshire. We're going to be looking at a bedding system in Yorkshire and a dairy farm in Scotland, or the other way around, I can't remember. But we'll show you that in a minute. Anyway, how have you got on with spring work? We've had a really, really dry March compared to some of the years that we've been having in the past. We've pretty much finished sowing. We've got the rollers on now. We've been rolling up behind things. We've just got one field that we've got to do some drainage in before we can finish that. But got on really well. In hindsight, if we knew that March was going to be so dry, there would have been some things that we wouldn't have drilled so early. We kind of rushed in with some winter wheat that we wanted to get in because it was, getting past winter, and it was marginal soil conditions, and we went in and we cut the slot, put the seed in, and had it stayed wet it'd have been fine, but because it comes so dry the seed slots have opened up slightly, which is a little bit annoying, and it's not the best of seed beds. If we'd have known though that we were going to have all this dry weather, we could have waited a week or two. But a hindsight drill would definitely be the best drill on a farm. Anyway, over to Angela in the sheep shed.
Well, hello from the sheep shed. Those of you that were watching our last episode would have seen that my daughter Olivia had got her flock of 12 sheep that were just about to start lambing. They've now started, so we've got some very cute little lambs here. So half of the flock have lambed. In total, she's got 7 lambs. So still a few to go, but no incidents, accidents or issues to report so far. So all successful on their way so far. I'm just going to put this one down so he's not too worried about where his mum is. There you go, back in your pen. But what I would like to do is invite you all to the next Farm Mart Magazine reader event. We do a number of reader events and farm walks throughout the summer. So the first one this year is taking place on a 500-acre dairy farm in North Wales. It's free to come along. The details will be on a QR code on screen now. And so if you'd like to come and join us on the 10th of April, have a look around the dairy farm. They were actually part of the AHDB Strategic Farm Network recently, so there's lots to learn from them, having a look at the great practices that they have, their stock housing, their transition sheds and so on. So it should be a really interesting night, so come along for a farm walk in North Wales if you're around. So just wanted to say a big thank you to EnviroSystems for sponsoring this episode. They're a family-run business actually in Lancashire, and they're known for their dairy cow bedding called EnviroBed and their Cobiotex bedding inoculants. So we're going to have a listen to Sally from EnviroSystems, who's chatting with a Scottish farmer about how switching to this bedding combination helped tackle mycoplasma infections and digital dermatitis on his farm. So let's take a look.
So today we're here with Willie McHarry from Broom Park Farm in Glenluce, and he's going to be talking to us about what changes he's made recently to his farm in terms of helping cell cancer mastitis and different bedding types really. So hi Willie.
How's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Nice to have you in sunny Stranraer. It's not always like this, but it is today.
So can you give us an overview of Broom Park Farm, how many cows you're milking, what your setup looks like, and any key systems you've got in place here?
So Broom Park Farm itself's 310 acres, and we rent another 100 acres just 2 miles up the road at North Melton Farm. Currently carrying about 450 head of stock. There's 160 cows milking, 2 or 3 dairy robots that we've been milking through robots now for just coming on 13 and a half years.
So you shared that mycoplasma infections were quite a big problem on your farm 5 or 6 years ago. Can you tell us about things that you put in place that have helped?
Yeah, it came to a head probably at its worst 5-6 years ago, and we had it grumbling away in calves for a good few years. Just with pneumonia, you would have the classic symptoms of heavy breathing, high temperatures and droopy ears, and then in the cows we were getting adult pneumonia. It was a big problem. It got to a stage 10% of the herd could have been affected per annum, maybe more, and just drops in milk, high temperatures, cows just generally not very well, and mastitis was getting worse, feet problems were getting worse, just generally dragging the immune system of the cows down.
Can you share your experience of using EnviroBed paper bedding from EnviroSystems on your cubicles?
Yeah, it was about the same time as that 5-6 years ago, and we're just kind of, what can we change to try and improve things? What can it was at a stage everyone was giving us grief, and it was like, well, if we don't try it, we don't know. And yeah, we took the leap and bought our first load of EnviroBed. It was also a cost thing as well. I think bags of sawdust were getting short supply and expensive, so that gave us the kick to move on to it and try it, and we got our first load in, and yeah, haven't really looked back. I mean, cows are spotless. Udder condition, teat condition is second to none, and yep, beds are clean, cows are comfy, and cell counts and back to scans are very low. I mean, we're sitting at 100 cell count of 100 and a back to scan of 10 to 12. So, yep, couldn't really complain.
A question we often get asked is, how easily does EnviroBed break down in the slurry store, and does it go through your channels? Can you provide your experience?
I wouldn't say slurry was any different. Everything's underground. It's all slatted tanks and a slurry's thick. And never had a problem. It mixes well, spreads well, and tanks, we can empty the tanks properly, so I can't really say it's an issue.
So you're now using Cobiotex bedding inoculants once a week along with EnviroBed. What changes have you seen, and how long did it take to see the improvements?
I mean, we were using a lot of lime and harsh probably disinfectants before, because we were having problems with mastitis. You think you're doing good throwing more and more on, but we were probably causing ourselves problem with dry and cracked teats and others just probably not as good as they should be. So moving away from them to the Cobiotex, I would say teat conditions far better. There's no dry and cracked teats in the herd. And
how has this helped mastitis levels on your farm using the Cobiotex?
I would say greatly. Just with the general teat condition of the cows being better, they're not picking up the infection, and using it along with the EnviroBed, like, they are spotless. The cows are very, very clean. Udders are clean, cubicles are clean. Yeah, it's just, I think the risk of catching infections is far lower because the cleanliness and whatever way it works, Cobiotex, there doesn't seem to be the same amount of problems anyway.
Was there anything unexpected that you noticed once Cobiotex became part of your routine?
I suppose it's you've got the time saving. We're only doing it once a week. I'm not spreading disinfectant every day or every second day. That made a difference. I would say cubicles are probably drier as well. I mean, if you've seen them going round, I mean, they are spotless.
And what would you say to other farmers who are looking to try EnviroBed and Cobiotex on their farm?
Go for it. You don't know unless you try, but certainly I wouldn't go back to using sawdust again. I can't at the moment anyway, unless things change. But as I say, certainly the last 5 years, it's just become normal, and it's cost effective, and it works, and cows are clean and happy and comfy. I would say if you look around the shed, you won't see one cow in this shed with a swollen hock or any injuries from cubicles or anything like that. And I mean, they're clean, they're comfy, and they're happy. So.
Now over to Richard, who's going to talk us through his robot milking system. So off we go.
5 years on robots. Was it worth it? Let's find out. So yeah, what did we do with the robot shed? And how did we plan it? It started really just by really wanting to expand a little bit, I think, because we were milking about 60 cows on the old milking parlour. At peak times we might have pushed it to 80, but it's too many for the system we had, so we needed to expand a little bit. So we'll bob through this first door, and then you can have a look at what we've got and what we've actually done in this building. but you could probably see it's really quite a long building. You know, with 120 cubicles in here, and you know, they can all lay down nice, really nice. As we walk down the cows, you'll see how quiet and content they are. So the design of the building is important. Before we even get to these robots down at this end, this is where it all starts. It starts with the cow. I'll say it again, think like a cow. So it starts with the cow, and what does she want? She just wants space, she wants freedom, she wants movement, she wants to be able to do what she wants. So that's what you've got to give her. Just give her that. And everything else falls into place. So you can just see how content these cows are. I think there must be 75% of them laid down making milk. That's it, they're just out there making milk, and that's what you want. So still staying with the building, obviously feeding. I've just talked about feeding. We only feed on one side. That's obviously, like I mentioned before, that's why the building's so long. Distance travelling wise, they don't have a problem. This girl here, she knows where she's going. You know, she's walking past me as quiet as anything. She knows it's time to get milk. She's bagged up. I can see she's bagged up, and she's not, if you can just see her not, she's just on her way to get milked. She's going to stand there now with a quiet. It's incredible to watch. She's we can see her not. She's standing there. She's looking at both robots. She's heard that different noise. She knows that robot's finished, so she'll probably now walk across there. There you go. I haven't done anything. She's heard that robot finishing. She knows she wants to go get milked, and she's probably going to push her way into the front of the queue. If she's a bit more of a bully cow than the other one, we'll see if she goes in first. So the other one's going through the foot bath. I'll see if she pushes. There you go. She's going to push herself in now, and that's it. She'll go and get milked. What do we think of robotic milking after 5 years in? It's challenging. It's very, very interesting. You learn a lot about your cows, more so than you would probably normally. Some have said, well, you don't handle your cows as much. You're not hands-on with them, and you just put them in a shed and you just leave them to do their own thing, and you're never touching them, or you're never handling them. You're not with your cows. That is absolutely not true. Robot manufacturers will try to sell you a robot on giving you more free time, and you've got loads of free time to do this, that and the other, more time to spend with the family. That is true, but also it's false. So it is true in a way, but you do get more time, possibly with your families, and it does make it easier to do activities with the families. But why does it give you more? Because it's flexible. It's the flexibility that gives you that opinion, and that's why it appeals. Because you're not specifically tied to a certain time like you are on a parlour or a rotary parlour system. You're not. It's no specific time, because these girls, I mean, they're just milking 24/7. You know, it's just continuous flow all the time, and the machine does the work. It does the milking for you. So that's the positive side of it, and it does give you that. So if somebody comes into the yard, or you've got an appointment somewhere, or you need to be somewhere at a certain time, it's no big deal. That's the beauty of it. It's just no big deal, because you can do that, because the cows are still being milked no matter what. So the other thing I haven't mentioned is, of course, what does it cost to actually run robots? They're not cheap to run. A milking parlour is definitely a cheaper option to run maintenance wise, but some of the modern parlours obviously add up to a little bit. People are not really telling you what it costs. I'll tell you what it costs us to run our robot in a 12-month period. This includes chemicals, 3 major services, and maybe 1 or 2 breakdowns in between. So this last year, it's pretty much cost us an average of about 18,000 to completely run the whole thing. That's not including foot bath chemicals as well. We could add them as well. So if we had them in as well, 2 IBC tanks, £1,000 a piece, maybe just over, it's probably going to come to another 2,000. So I could probably safely say to you, to run a 2 robot system on what we've got here, I'll probably break down into a completely everything you can throw in at it. Remember, ours are only 5 years old, so yeah, the average cost is going to be about 20k. So 5 years on, the question was, what do we think of robot milking? And would we ever go back to a conventional parlour? Not a cat and hell's chance, I'll tell you. There's absolutely no way whatsoever. I'd give up first.
Thanks for that, Richard. Now, there is a vacancy on the Farm Mart's job page for a farm manager's position on a dairy farm. So I think it's up in Cumbria, but there's accommodation provided. So I think there's a QR code probably around here now. If you go and click that, it'll take you to the Farm Mart jobs, where there's other jobs as well on there. Thanks to EnviroSystems for sponsoring this week's episode again. They obviously provide different bedding for livestock. But if you want to know more about bedding systems, check the link in the description. Now, it's almost 3 years since we've been doing the Real Country File. So we had our annual meeting the other day. So here's a little bit of that. It's the annual AGM of the Real Country File.
Yeah. 3 years and counting. Yeah, happy birthday to us again.
Yeah, we should have had a cake.
Yeah.
Never thought about that.
3 years in May. But
Yeah.
in order for us to carry on for another 12 months, we need your help. So
100% we're looking for more contributors from around the UK. When we set this up 3 years ago, we sat around this very table here in Ollie's kitchen. We wanted to get your stories across. The Real Country File is all about what's happening to you on your farm, in your area, in your village. And there's a lot going on at the minute, isn't there? This fella at right hand side of me, he's been down that near London a few times, kicking off on your behalf. What's really rattling your cage? What can we get out there for you? And Angela, you want to get them as well, don't you?
Absolutely, and we're really conscious that, we're all pretty much northwest based. So tell us what's happening in Scotland, what's happening in Devon or in Norfolk or whatever. Are there the same issues UK-wide, or are there pockets of the country that's having really difficult times on different issues? So just get in touch and let us know what's going on your farm.
yeah, so if anyone wants to be a roving reporter, send in 2-3 minutes, whatever, get in touch. What's the best way of them getting in touch though?
They can send an email to vids@therealcountryfile.co.uk. We also have an Instagram page, so you can direct message us on Instagram at The Real Country File.
Or send a stamped addressed envelope.
And we are also looking for more sponsors. We've been really lucky over the 3 year and privileged that we've had a good number of sponsors for the programme for each episode. But we could do with some more. So if you fancy sponsoring as well, you can get in touch with our Angela, and she'll through the Farm Mart magazine, and we can hook you up for both, or one or the other. It doesn't matter. We'll get you all along on the Real Country File, and in association with the Farm Mart.
But one thing that I would love to know from you guys is, what has been your favourite episode over the last 3 years that we've done? Has there been a particular one that stood out, which really piqued your interest, or frustrated you, or excited you, or just taught you something? So let us know in the comments what your favourite episode has been.
Do we need to bring back the Young Farmers Tractor Cab Challenge, maybe?
Or is there another game that we could think of that we could do?
What can we get them doing? Yeah. Oh, they like a challenge, the young farmers.
Yeah.
So if you're part of a young farmer club now, and you've got an idea for what your challenge should be on the Real Country File, then yeah, get in touch with us in the comment section, and we'll keep it clean. And we'll see what we can't do, and maybe we could have the final at Blackpool.
And if you didn't see last week's episode, go and find it out now. It's on this here YouTube. Bye.
Bye bye.
See you next time.